Hi guys, how are you doing? And welcome back. Let's talk about AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, machine learning, artificial intelligence, it has been around for some time. If we look at Wikipedia real quick, we can see that we believe the start of AI was 1956. And then during the years that came after that, it has been worked on, it has been developed, and well, now we can see, we know it in the way we use it with OpenAI and ChatGPT. It's very fast and it is coming up with answers that's making us believe that we are talking to a intelligent piece of software. But that's all it is. It is software. And the software and all those mathematical models, they were available in the 1956 and 1970s and the 90s. They were already there because those models are basically the same. The thing that we couldn't use them then, like we are using them now, is, well, I am dumbing it down, but basically what's happening is, so back then when it started, right, we didn't have large digital data sets. That's what we have nowadays, right? Like, for example, social media, all the apps you're using on your phones, all the websites, the data collecting. It's a major privacy issue, but that's not the subject for this video. So the fact is that we do have those large digital data sets now. And in order to train those models on them, we have computers which are really fast, right? So, I mean, we all know that AI models, AI, ChatGPT, and OpenAI, they are using a lot of hardware resources from a computer perspective. Like they are using a lot of dedicated GPUs in there, they are using a lot of storage. And the thing is, with the use of all those GPUs, which are needed to do all the computational stuff very fast, so you don't have to wait a long time when you ask it something, they consume a lot of power. How much power are they consuming? We can see it here. This is just one report from The Verge where we can see that there has been a paper published which calculates that by 2027, the AI sector could consume between 18 to 134 terawatt hour each year. That means that's about the same as the annual energy demand of the PhD candidate, the Vries home country, and that's the Netherlands. That's also where I live. So that's very, very huge. I mean, AI is consuming a lot of power. You need a lot of GPUs, and that's the one of the reasons it is very difficult to run it locally at home, not connected to the internet, on modest hardware. And this is exactly where DeepSeek comes in. It has surprised me. It has surprised the whole world in how efficient it can run. It doesn't need all those GPUs from those dedicated vendors who are making GPUs from NVIDIA and Radeon, AMD, that is. It doesn't need all that computational power to achieve the same or maybe better results compared to ChatGPT, OpenAI. This is a company which is doing groundbreaking stuff in optimizing the AI models and the machine learning models we have nowadays, making them more efficient, making it able to run on a CPU, right? Because in my lab environment, which I'm going to show you in a bit, I don't have GPUs running in my VMware lab. It is just an ASIC server with virtual machines. And I am able to deploy this model, run it completely offline, and have it perform well acceptably, because the lab environment I have, it doesn't have the latest CPUs. Those CPUs are a few generations old, but still this model is running very capably on that platform. Let's get into it. All right, so this is a virtual machine running, a Ubuntu virtual machine running on my ESX environment. What it has, the hardware is not that spectacular. I mean, my lab environment, it is getting a little old, but it is still running perfectly fine for a lab environment, and that's okay. So let's look at the hardware configuration of this virtual machine. Let's get into edit settings, and we can see I have 4 CPUs dedicated to this virtual machine, just a basic virtual machine with Ubuntu running on it. I gave it 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I have a hard disk configured with it with 500 gigabytes. In the end, it will nowhere near use that 500 gigabytes because I'm not using the largest model from DeepSeek to run it locally. I have a network adapter connected and nothing special. No video card, no GPU. I don't have GPUs in my lab environment. So this is what I chose to test my on my lab environment. So from a VMware perspective, it is a basic virtual machine. Everyone who is running ESXi, this is ESXi 8, and everyone who is able to run that will be able to run this model. And the performance, as you will see in a minute, is acceptable. It is not lightning fast, but it is acceptable. It is for a CPU environment, for a CPU only environment from a virtual machine running on VMware, it is very much acceptable to have this model running on your lab. So let's go to the monitoring and let's see the performance overview. It is doing, the machine at the moment is not doing anything. The memory usage is fairly low. Basically, the machine is idling. So what we're going to do is log in using SSH. Let me restart the session here real quick. And there we are. This is the machine. I'm logged in right now. So because this is a lab environment, I can just run everything as root. Of course, if you do this in a production environment, running applications at root is not the way to go. But as this is a lab environment, running this application as root, that's perfectly fine. So let's start with installing Ollama, because Ollama, that's the model you need to install, and that will give you the ability to talk to that DeepSeek AI that we will install. And so the first step is let's just run and install Ollama. Ollama will give you the ability to run large language models on your local server, so you don't need to connect to the internet, and that is exactly what we want. So let's start by installing Ollama. It has to go down to the internet and download it. And once again, if you would have GPUs in this environment, the install of Ollama will see that GPU and will configure it to use it for the models. It is only using CPU in my VMware lab environment to achieve the results I expect a model to achieve. And let's be honest, we have outfitted every data center in the world with a lot of CPUs, right? So why not use those CPUs to do all the AI stuff and the ML stuff? So Ollama is installed. I have a warning. That's exactly what I expected to tell me. I will be running it in a CPU only mode. So the VMware virtual machine it does not have a GPU attached to it. So Ollama is installed. Let's see if it is actually what the status is. It is active. That's good. And just to make sure that it starts every time I boot my machine, let's make sure that it's enabled, that the service is enabled to start on boot. Clear up some. All right, so that's also done. Okay, so now that we have Ollama installed, we need to install DeepSeek AI. DeepSeek AI has several model sizes. I'm going with size 7B, and that's the model I chose to run on my virtual machine. And well, let's see how it goes. What I will do as well, I told you guys I will show you how to interact with that model, not from a command line, because hey, we are living in 2025. I don't want to see a terminal. I just want to open a web interface and interface with my with DeepSeek, interface with my AI chatbot, so to speak. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to install a web front end for that as well. And for that, I need to install some other Python dependencies. That's what we're going to do just right now. It is already installed. Let's see what version it is. And it is version 3.12. That is fine. That's the version we'll need. And also, I'm going to install pip. This is something that will be used very heavily to run that web interface we are going to use to actually talk to our DeepSeek AI. So let it install. Let's see if it is giving me the version there. Okay, the version has been installed as well. And let's see if we have Git installed. It is a Ubuntu machine, so it should be installed. Yes, it is already installed. And let me check real quick what the version for Git is. Copy pasting is copying also some other characters from my notes. Okay, so that's the Git version. That's perfect. And now I'm going to install. We are going to tell Ollama to actually run the DeepSeek model. Now, DeepSeek has several models. Let's take a real quick here. And as you can see, we have several models here with several sizes. I'm going for the 7B model. You can go for the other models as well. That's the storage you will need, right? It says here 4.7 gigabytes, and the most large model, that size is 400 gigabytes. So I'm going to choose for the 7B option because I need to make sure that it is somewhat, well, it will not bring my machine to a grinding halt. I still want it to be operational, and the 7B model will run perfectly fine on this virtual machine running in only CPU modus. So let's tell Ollama to install, to download DeepSeek and run that. And the command for that is, that's the command, and that's what we're going to do. And we'll give it some time to pull in that complete image and then set it up and start running it. In the meantime, what I will do is I will duplicate this session, log in there, so we can keep an eye on the resource usage for this virtual machine, and do a sudo and just start htop. So we can keep an eye on the load. Let me put it here on the screen so you can see that. And here we can see it is running that model, or it's downloading the image, setting it up. And that's that. We have DeepSeek running on a VMware virtual machine, only CPU. As you can see here, I can now interact with that model. If I say hello, it needs to think, and it comes up with, well, the message. You can see, you just saw in that the htop where the CPU is spiking, right? So if I hello again, let's keep an eye here on the CPU usage. When it generates tokens, goes through the computational. So if I say hello again, we can see the CPU is spiking there. And then it is basically coming up with information. This is answering my, it's coming up with a response. And the way and the rate it is doing it on, well, it is not slow, given that this is only CPU virtual machine. It is coming up with answers very fast. This is way, way better than I expected any AI model to run on my very modest VMware Homelab. Now we know that this model is running. The next step is, let's install that web UI I told you guys about. And for that, I will leave the model running here and create a new session. So I can switch back to my session if I need that. Let's log in here real quick. And let's do the sudo. And now I am logged in my DeepSeek virtual machine. If we go to the virtual machine usage now within vCenter, you can see that memory is 80% and the CPU is spiking. And that's perfectly fine, right? Because this is exactly what we expect this AI model to do. Use the CPU to do all the computational stuff, but still perform very acceptable. That's exactly what's happening here. So let me bring up the windows again, the terminal sessions. All right, we will just minimize this one so we can see what it is actually happening here. All right, so we need to install that, that web frontend. Let's start by installing some dependencies here. And you can see perfectly fine that as long as I'm not interacting with a model, the CPU usage is completely, well, neglectable. It is not doing anything. Let's make sure that those characters are not cleaned up or cleaned up. Let's do that real quick. Okay, and then let's activate it. Just clean up my copy paste action. Right, and there we are. Okay, and then we need pip to install that web UI. That's what we're going to do. Pip install that, and again cleaning up here. Now this can take some time. Let it finish on its own. And there we have it. Now the open-webui component is installed as well. Let's see if we can start it with that command. Yes. All right, so my open source AI user interface, the web UI, has been started. So we need to go to that HTTP URL, of course, the IP address of your DeepSeek server or the server you're running this open web UI on, and port is 8080. So we will do that. Let's go to HTTP 192.168.130.130 and port is 8080. Here we are being presented with the open web UI interface. Let's click on get started and I will indeed create a admin account. Let's fill out my name. That's Vikash and this is YouTube testing at vikash.nl and a password. Let's enter a quick password. And now we have created that admin account and we are in the open web UI. This web UI is specifically developed for interacting with different AI models. In this case, it detects that we have DeepSeek R17B running. If you should you have more models, you can add more models here and you can then choose and select the model you want to interact with. So this is my DeepSeek model running actually here. So if I say hello, and then grab this real quick, there we go. You can see the background compute resource being used on that virtual machine, and you can see the response in the window. So, well, let's ask it how the weather is today. How is the weather today? Now, the thing with this is it cannot reach the internet because this lab environment is running completely offline. If I tell it how is the weather, let's see what the response will be. And the thing is, it says thinking, but we have a drop down list. So we can see what the process is it goes through, right? And this is what it's telling me. The answer is coming. I have that window where we can see the CPU usage. If we go to my vCenter, we can see within VMware vCenter, the CPU usage is spiking there as well, but that's to be expected. Still, the web UI is running on the same server as well. The machine is responding perfectly fine. And I am able to interact with my model. Let's go back to the model and see what the thinking process is. Well, that's happening right now. You can see as well that Ollama is using the 4 CPU threads there. And of course, at any time, we can click on stop. And this is where the model then comes to a conclusion, because it says I don't have access to real-time information, so I can't provide current weather updates. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The model is running in my lab environment, not connected to the internet, but still it is responsive. It's not the fastest, but it is responsive for a model running on CPU only. And what makes it very, very amazing is running it in a virtual machine on my VMware lab platform, my home lab server, still being able, the platform is like now 7 or 8 years old. The processor here is from several generations old. It is still able to run DeepSeek AI and make it responsive for me when I need it, and allows me a AI platform to test. So this is a major leap in developing AI models and LLMs and machine learning algorithms. Now, this is what I'm talking about: a efficient AI model, a efficient machine learning model, which can run not needing the fastest and the greatest hardware. It is running on a CPU which is several generations old. It is running in my VMware lab, which is not the fastest or the biggest or the greatest, but still gives me a very good experience to see what AI is doing, how the model is running, or even do my own development for it. I don't need those expensive GPUs in my environment to still be able to have a usable model. So I would say for the other machine learning and the other AI platforms, buckle up. The efficient AI model, machine learning model is coming for you. As always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to click on the like and subscribe button below this video. That helps out my channel a lot and also helps me keep making these kinds of videos for you guys. I'm curious to know what kind of AI model, what kind of machine learning model are you running in your home lab environment? Is it running on VMware? How is the performance? Is it what you expect it to be? And if you have comments, leave them in the comment section below as well, and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. For now, take care and see you in the next video. Bye.